All right, so you might have noticed that I changed the channel name back to Bulldog Mindset because Bulldog Mindset is back. Yes, the old school Bulldog Mindset that you know and loved. I'm bringing it back, guys. You know, I want to make this video to kind of kick this off to talk about what I've learned in the last few years. It's been a tough time. It's been a tough time for me in the last few years. I think since my divorce and just all the life changes that's happened, and you know, it's been tough for a lot of different reasons. I mean, one of the biggest reasons is just because of this loss of identity, right? And if you've been following me for a while, you know that I've told you that identity is one of the most powerful forces in the universe, if not the most powerful force in the universe, and that really what we have to attach our identities to are things that are unchanging, right? And that's difficult to do. And every time that we lose an identity, we have to find a bigger identity, something that is more transcendent, something that is less attached to this material world or to a specific role or responsibility that we have at any given time. And what I've found in that is that with my loss of identity, I went into a bit of a tumble, right? And the other thing that happened with me, and what I've come to realize in a few different ways, but it was highlighted definitely last night as I was watching this Instagram clip from this girl who had attempted to off herself and had basically, you know, blown off the bottom of her mouth and had all these surgeries. And and a lot of people said some nasty stuff in the comments talking about, well, why didn't you just finish the job, and like now your life is worse. And it is true that it's worse, but what it really helped me to realize, and what I had been realizing, and it was sort of the final straw of this, is that sometimes you have to lose everything you have in order to appreciate what you have, right? Or to come close to that. And I've done enough. I've gone far enough. I've gone far enough down that path of self-destruction, right? The other thing that sort of culminated at the same time was I started listening again to, because I have my daughter listening to this book, the audiobook of The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, one of the most pivotal books in my life that I forgot about. I've listened to the audio version of that book probably 20 times, but I haven't in the last few years because I didn't think I needed it anymore. In fact, there's a lot of stuff I didn't think that I needed anymore, and I do. I do need that stuff. Uh, you know, I had forgotten what I knew, what I used to do, how to keep the demons at bay. I had forgotten those things, and I went down a self-destructive path. I didn't appreciate what I had. I started losing it, and instead of thinking about why am I losing the things and how can I change this direction, I desperately grasped for them. Right? I started to have almost an entitled attitude where I was like, okay, well, I'm John Sonmez. I'm Bulldog Mindset. So I just deserve to have people paying me money and viewing my content. And that's not true at all. I only get the value that I create in this world. And when you stop creating value and you start becoming a person that's more extracting value than creating value, you might be able to do that for a short time, but eventually you're going to lose, right? And so I kind of got to that point. It's not like I lost everything, but I lost the things that were valuable to me, right? I got to a point where the business dropped significantly, where I didn't know I couldn't create content anymore. I didn't even feel like creating content. And the content that I was creating, especially on Instagram and TikTok, has been more of just like clickbaity, kind of just trying to desperately gain views. And I'm just not going to do that anymore, And I didn't have, everything wasn't all bad. I had these periods of time where I've got my new channel that I need to do some new videos on that when I get some time, once I've rearranged, done the things that I need to do. But where I had success creating these high quality videos, and I learned a lot in the production process, and had a lot of fun doing those things and doing my own editing. And I'll get back to that someday. I'd love to do that again. So not everything was bad, but even when I was doing that, my mindset was not the right mindset. It wasn't the mindset of, hey, let's just grow and be honest and learn and develop and discipline ourselves. It was more like, let me desperately get back to where I was, and this is the way to do it. It's almost like being a gambler who loses money and then chases that lost money, just praying and hoping to get back to even. And when you're in that state, it's not a good state to be in, right? I've talked about it before. You've probably heard me talk about the the idea of resetting the high watermark, right? And that's, I even knew this. I even said this to myself, but for some reason I couldn't do it. Some reason I couldn't bring myself to do it. But resetting the high watermark means that, if you've ever been to a lake bed or a dam where the water level is lower, right? You can see it where there's maybe some kind of a drought, or you can see where the high water mark was. And you look at this and you're like, wow, I can't believe the water at one point was up to this level, but you can see what that water mark is, right? And that's a high water mark. And many times in our lives, we have this high watermark. We think about, oh, when I was making this money, when I had this girl, when I was this young, when I looked this good, when I was this in shape, right? Whatever it is, right? You've got this high watermark. When I was disciplined, and what happens is we fall from that, right? And what we do is we look at that high watermark, and we compare ourselves to it, and we say, I just want to get back to that. And we feel bad about ourselves. We feel like shit. We're unmotivated because we're just trying to get back to even. We're just trying to get back to where we were. And we make these bargains with God. We're like, if I could just have what I had before, if I could just be back to where I was. And even though we desperately want that attitude and that mindset is exactly what prevents us from getting there, because it's one of desperation. It's not one of abundance. It's one of scarcity. And when you have that mindset, you're depressed. You feel like crap. You're comparing yourself to who you were before, and you feel horrible about yourself. And even if you make some progress, it's not the same. It doesn't feel like progress. It just feels like getting back, going out of debt instead of gaining. And when you're in that state, you're not going to make it. You're not going to get back to where you were. You can never fully get back to where you were, because time changes. The river that you dip your hand into today is not the same river that you did yesterday. So you have to reset the high water mark. You have to say, okay, I was here, but I'm not looking at that anymore. I'm looking at, where am I now? This is the new high water mark. And anything I gain above that is a gain. It's not comparing myself to getting back to where I was and feeling like I'm still in the hole and I'm still in debt. It feels like a new gain, a new advancement. It's something I can be proud of. I can get the momentum, because I'm telling you, in life, if you want to be successful, if you want to be happy, you got to have momentum. You got to, and I've seen it. I've seen it for the last 3 or 4 years of this downward spiral of John Sonmez. And there was a point where I almost gave up, where I was almost like, yeah, no, it's done, man. Like you're the shadow of yourself, right? And I was thinking about it. I went to this When We Were Young concert, which was pretty cool, and my wife wanted to go to it because all the bands from, it was more of her era, a little bit later than my era of the Blink-182 and stuff. Although they were there, I think they're gonna be there next year too. But I got an interesting story too. I met Mark from Blink-182, took them to the movie theater to see American Pie. But if you haven't heard that story, that's for another time. But I went to that concert, and I saw these bands that are playing 20 years later, and some of them, you could just tell. It's just like they were on the radio. They were best-selling bands. They were adored and worshipped by fans. And yeah, in this stadium, in this arena, in this concert, whatever it is, festival, they've got their fans. But it's not the same. They're never going to be on top again. They're never going to be who they were. They're never going to be the famous band that is popular again with their songs. But some of them are still desperately trying, and you can tell they've been still playing music for all this time. And not because, some of them because they love the music, but some of them just because they're trying to get back there. And I was like, man, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that guy. And so there's sort of this weird, I don't know, what I would say, contradiction of getting back to who you were, but you can't get back to who you were. So I have no illusion. I'm not. I can't be the same Bulldog mindset, the same John Sonmez that came up on this channel and inspired you by the things I was learning and growing from as I was developing myself as a man and developing my masculinity and reading all these books for the first time and running my first marathon and fasting and training hard for the first time and making progress in overcoming my fear of talking to women and learning game and all those things. I can't be that same guy because that time has passed. It's not possible. And to try to get back to that would be a fool's errand. But I can be the same mindset, the same discipline, the same. I thought I learned it all. That's the same spirit of growing and learning and developing myself that I was before. It's just a different path. It's just a different growth. And yeah, and to some degree, some people might say, well, yeah, that time has passed, but you're with me. You're here. You've also grown. You've been through this journey. So this is a journey we take together. And so I'm back. I'm going to do the videos again with a new passion. I'm going to answer your questions. You got some questions? Email me at john@bulldogmindset.com. We'll get back to those. We'll get back to answering the question, doing the thing that I love to do, doing the thing that I'm good at doing, which is giving advice, going through, not trying to do it just for some clicks or some views, but because it's valuable to you and because it's valuable to me and because it's meaningful. So somehow I lost that. Somehow in the chase of maybe money and getting back to where I was, that got lost. And yeah, I'm going to bring back the Bulldog Mindset membership again. I'm going to do some things with that. I know I talked about it before, but this is for real this time. It's time to make this change. It's time to go forward. And I can't make a promise that absolutely that this path is going to be the path I continue to go down forever. I can't make that promise. But I'm going to give it a shot here, and we're going to see how it goes. Right? So for now, the plan is to make daily videos on this channel, to bring it back, and we'll see where it goes here. If you want this, watch the video after you're watching the video, but like, comment, show your support. Let's see it. If you don't, it's cool. It's fine. Maybe the time has passed. Maybe you're beyond that. Maybe you've lost too much faith in me. Maybe I've eroded too much of the faith that you had in me. And for that, I am sorry, because I do owe you an apology, even though I say never apologize. But this is an occasion to apologize because, yeah, I've let some people down. I'm sure of it because I've let myself down, and I know it. Right, but it's okay. But I'm coming from an attitude of not being defeatist, of the victim mindset, of self-deprecating. I'm coming from one of honesty, and that's what's needed. One of honesty. I can see the facts. I can see what I've done. I can objectively look at mistakes that I've made, and see that those are mistakes that I've made. Doesn't make me bad. Doesn't make me wrong. Yeah, maybe there's some regret in there. But it doesn't serve you. You have to move forward. You have to move on. And so we're going to do this. See you tomorrow.